You see them everywhere, right? Beer, wine, whiskey. They're a part of our celebrations, our quiet nights, pretty much our whole culture. But have you ever stopped to think about what we're actually drinking and what it's really doing to us? Okay, let's get into it. We're going to peel back the layers, get past the myths, and really understand the science and the stark reality of alcohol. And we'll start with a true story.
So let me tell you about Amit. Growing up, he was that kid. You know the one. The model child, the one everyone pointed to as perfect. He absolutely hated the idea of drinking. He'd seen what it did to people and just thought, how pathetic. But life had a very different plan for him.
And you won't believe how fast his journey from that ideal son to an addict was. It all started with just one drink at a college party, fitting in with new friends. That one drink quickly turned into a weekend habit. People would actually praise him for his drinking capacity. Then a really bad breakup hit, and that weekend habit became a daily crutch just to feel numb. Before he even knew what was happening, he was completely dependent, pushing away the two people who loved him most, his wife and his mother. So how does this even happen? To get that, we have to go way, way back in time.
As high-tech and fancy as some drinks seem today, alcohol itself is actually a totally natural thing. It's older than humanity. It's just a simple, ancient chemical process that happens all by itself in nature.
It's a process called fermentation. And honestly, it's pretty simple. When fruits get super ripe, they're packed with sugar. This attracts yeast, this tiny little fungus floating around, which then eats the sugar. And as a byproduct, it basically burps out carbon dioxide and, you guessed it, alcohol. There's even this wild theory called the drunken monkey hypothesis, which suggests our ancient primate ancestors used to snack on these fermented fruits, and that's how we developed a tolerance for alcohol over millions of years.
Now this slide shows a really crucial difference. See, natural fermentation on the left has a built-in off switch. Eventually, the alcohol level gets so high, around 15%, that it actually kills the yeast that's making it. But then we humans got involved. We invented distillation. That's where you heat the fermented liquid to separate and concentrate the alcohol. This is how we supercharged it. This is how we get the hard stuff, whiskey, vodka, rum, drinks with a power that nature never ever intended.
So, okay, whether it's a natural beer or a hard whiskey, the stuff that does the work is the same, a molecule called ethanol. So let's follow exactly what happens inside your body from the moment you take that first sip.
About 20% of it gets absorbed right through your stomach. But the real action, the main event, happens in your small intestine. From there, it gets absorbed super fast, straight into your bloodstream. And that's why drinking on an empty stomach hits you so much harder and faster. There's no food to slow it down. Once it's in your blood, it's on a tour of your entire body, but it really concentrates in the organs that get the most blood flow, your liver and your brain.
Now, your liver is your body's hero. It's the filter, and it works like crazy to break down that alcohol. But here's the catch. It's a two-step process. First, it turns the alcohol into a really toxic chemical called acetaldehyde. This stuff, acetaldehyde, is the real villain. It's what's responsible for that pounding headache, that nausea, the lovely feeling of a hangover. It's only in the second step that your liver can finally turn that poison into something harmless.
So why do you feel drunk? Let's talk about the brain. The easiest way to picture it is to think of your brain's communication system like the pedals in a car. Alcohol does two things at once. It boosts GABA, which is your brain's main brake pedal. This is what makes you feel relaxed and slows down your reaction time. But at the exact same time, it blocks glutamate, which is the accelerator pedal. This messes up your thinking and your judgment. So yeah, it's like slamming on the brakes and cutting the gas at the same time. The whole system just slows way down.
And get this, while you might feel sober after a few hours, the evidence of that drink sticks around for way longer than you'd think. It can show up in your urine for up to 3 days, but in your hair, traces of it can be detected for up to 90 days. It really does leave a mark.
And that brings us to the long-term damage, which is honestly surrounded by so many myths and just plain wrong information. So let's talk about what chronic drinking really does to your body. And we're going to start with the organ that takes the biggest beating of all, your liver. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a progression, a predictable path of destruction. It starts with what's called a fatty liver. And the good news here is, at this stage, it's actually reversible if you stop drinking. But if you don't, it can lead to hepatitis, where the liver gets all inflamed. Then comes fibrosis. That's when scar tissue starts to form. And the final stage is cirrhosis. That's severe, irreversible scarring, and it leads to total liver failure.
So what about just moderate drinking? We hear that term all the time, right? Oh, I only drink in moderation. Well, the World Health Organization is incredibly clear on this. Their official stance, the one backed by tons of research, is that there is no safe level of alcohol. Zero. Any amount you drink carries a risk to your health.
Okay, this one. This is probably the single most common myth out there. We've all heard it, right? That a glass of red wine is actually good for you because of the antioxidants. So, is there any truth to it?
Nope. The simple answer is no. Let's just bust this myth right now. Yes, grapes have antioxidants, that part is true, but the damage from the ethanol, the alcohol itself, in the wine is so much greater than any tiny benefit you might get from those antioxidants. You'd be way better off just eating a handful of grapes. The alcohol completely cancels out any potential good.
All right, here's another one. People love to categorize their drinks. They think beer or wine are somehow softer or safer than spirits like whiskey. Does that idea hold any water?
Not at all. And this gets to the absolute core of the issue. Your liver doesn't have eyes. It doesn't know, and it doesn't care if the ethanol came from barley or potatoes. As this slide shows, a standard serving of these drinks, a strong beer, a glass of wine, a shot of whiskey, they all contain about the same amount of pure alcohol. It is the total amount of alcohol you drink that matters, not the fancy bottle it came in.
And, this damage doesn't just stay inside one person's body. The impact of alcohol abuse ripples outward, and it causes just immense, heartbreaking harm to families and to our entire society.
The link between alcohol and violence is just tragically clear. Studies in India have shown that women whose husbands drink are more than 3 times as likely to face domestic violence. The substance fuels aggression and it shatters homes.
And then you have the absolute carnage on our roads. That number you see, 3,322, that's how many people were killed by drunk drivers in India in just 1 year. These aren't just statistics. Each one is a person, a parent, a child, a friend, whose life was stolen by a choice that was 100% preventable. And if we zoom out and look at the whole world, the picture is just staggering. The World Health Organization estimates that 2.6 million people die every single year as a direct result of drinking alcohol. Let that sink in. That is a massive global public health crisis. The numbers are grim, I know, but addiction is not a death sentence. And this brings us back to Amit. At his absolute lowest point, when his wife and his mother were literally packing their bags to leave him, he begged them for just one last chance. And that single moment, it changed everything.
Amit's family got in touch with Alcoholics Anonymous. Look, the road back was not easy. It was incredibly hard. But with his family's support and the community he founded at AA, he did it. Today, 10 years later, he's a successful entrepreneur, living a completely normal, happy life. His story is proof that recovery is possible. The very first step is just admitting there's a problem, and there is absolutely no shame in asking for help. Resources like helplines and support groups are there for that exact reason, to help.
So we end on this thought. For Amit and for millions and millions of others, that one single drink that started a celebration also started a downfall. It really forces us all to ask ourselves, where exactly is the line? And is it a line that's worth crossing?